A number of severe warnings for South Africa, this as a weather system dumps rain across the country. We've already reported on a number of areas in the country that have had torrential rains and flooding. But to discuss this for more, we have our SABC meteorologist, Siphesihle Kunene. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming through.
Good afternoon, Balesa.
Now, the Weather Service has issued a number of severe warnings of rain, and many were actually thinking that the skies would have cleared, but it's not the case.
Unfortunately, with weather systems, this tends to be the case lately. We started forecasting this thing, or the Weather Service started forecasting this thing last week Friday, just before Good Friday, and we'd said by Sunday it's starting to finish, and then by Monday, Tuesday it's starting to clear. But what happened is that it actually started later, and therefore by it starting later, it extended throughout a longer period of time. So we're expecting even the areas that already have seen some heavy rains to see still once again some more rain.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape specifically, Siphesihle, because data from Weather Service shows more heavy rain in those two provinces that are already experiencing flooding. So there is also rain expected that will affect provinces such as your Northern Cape and the Free State as well.
Yes. Okay, we have one system, but we have two things happening from the same system, or different kinds of storms. Over the interior, so if you see there, you find the Free State province, the Northwest province. Over those areas, that's where now we're expecting to see heavy rain. So the heavy rain the storm with the largest amounts of rain has moved towards the interior. So it's now over the interior. That's where we're expecting heavy rain. Free State and Northwest. Tomorrow, for the coastal areas, even though we're going to get very little rain in terms of measurement, just like you said, whether Durban has already recorded 106 millimeters in 24 hours. Yeah. Heavy rain is regarded as 50 millimeters, so it has doubled that amount.
It has.
So now what's happening is that along that eastern coastline from Grahamstown, East London, Port St. John's, we're no longer expecting to see heavy rain, but the little rain that we're going to get will definitely cause damage. Number two, the kind of storm that's going to occur now is one with hail, strong damaging winds, and still once again hail. So and once again heavy rain. So now not only are we expecting to see heavy rain along the eastern coastline, the areas that have already seen flooding, we're now expecting to see strong winds and hail damage as a result of the storm that is still once again brewing.
But is this a normal weather pattern for this time of the year?
Normal, that's a bit difficult to say.
Weather can never be normal, eh?
It can never. Weather changes every day. But what I can say that it's normal for this time of the year to have a confusion of the system. You have now, we've had moist, warm air throughout summer, but now we're moving into winter or around about autumn. That's when you can start to get mixing of the cold air from the southern parts that comes through the cold front. So the cold, dry air, and of course warm, moist air. When those two mix, that's a combination of severe thunderstorm in any time. It happens when we move out of the winter season and when we go into the winter season. So right now we're going into the winter season. That's where we're going to see severe thunderstorms. It is normal for this time of the year, but what made this one worse is that not only do we have that cutoff low or that big major system, but another thing is that it's a full moon. When you get a full moon, you get high tides. So during high tide season, the water that is supposed to be flowing into the ocean now cannot get into the ocean. That's why it gets blocked along the coastal areas, and then you find more damage along the coastal areas. And then there's other damage as well, which comes after the effects of the rain. For instance, you've heard things like mudslides, and actually that one is just the ground saying we have had enough water, we are 100% saturated, and then it just lets go. Unfortunately, we find that there's informal settlements, people living there. That is not, it's not supposed to, we're not supposed to lose so many people due to heavy rain, because number one, we can forecast it, we can evacuate people on time, but because of many other things, like people building on the wrong areas, therefore they can't even get out of the area, the roads are quite bad, then the situation gets even worse, more worse, because of where they are built, of where they are.
All right. So as you say, it's very difficult to predict. You guys were hoping that by Tuesday the skies would have cleared. So when can we expect the situation to return to normality?
So I'm going to tell you the one thing that I can say. It's changing. Do you know that by Wednesday and Thursday, there's a warning now that it might move towards Riversdale, George, as the system, there's something that's called the scorpion's tail. You know the scorpion's tail, how it looks like. So the system is here over the center of the country, the Eastern Cape. As it exits towards East London, that's where we have a watch for heavy rain. As it exits there, we find the scorpion's tail spreading through going towards the Western Cape. So now there is that possibility once again. So although the system is exiting round about Wednesday, that's why we're no longer expecting to see much more heavy rains over the interior. But Thursday, there's still a possibility of rain and strong rains along the southern coastline of the Western Cape. And then on still Thursday and Friday, we still have light rains over the interior. Those ones will not cause damage, but there's still light rain. But it's rain. So Thursday, by Friday, that's when we can say that most of the country will be clear.
All right. So let's talk about cold conditions that are accompanying these rains. So I suppose, as you said, it's the beginning of autumn now, heading into winter. So we should be expecting low temperatures going forward?
Yes, of course, especially at night, and especially because it's wet. When if everything is wet, then it's much colder. Because of course, with the wind factor as one of the factors that makes it even much cooler. And because now when we get a change in air mass, the whole air mass of Southern Africa has changed. It'll take time for it to warm up to your warm upper 20s, to your lower 30s as we used to in the country. So for now, you can expect to see lower 20s. As you can see, this is what you're going to see for the next couple of days. 19 in Bloemfontein, 16 in Bethlehem. It's going to take time for it to warm up significantly to those warm levels, and especially at night. Nighttime temperatures are the ones that to look out for.
Siphesihle, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for that update.
Pleasure.
All right. Many thanks there to our SABC meteorologist, Siphesihle Kunene, of course, keeping us up to date with the weather conditions, as he said that we are expecting rain to continue, of course, throughout this week.